Okay, in this video, you're going to learn about the Linux directory system, or what we call the Linux file system. So I'm going to log into my console right now. I'll input my password. Then I'm going to show you something I forgot to tell you in the last video, which is the fact that I left my AWS instance running. So I'm going to teach you how to shut it down, because AWS gives you only 750 hours of one particular EC2 instance. So you want to shut down your instance when you are not using it and then start it again when you need to use it. So go to instances. And you discover that this particular instance I created last time was still running. So I'm going to shut it down right now. So click on the instance. Go to actions, then go to instance state, then go to stop instance. Is it terminate or stop? I think it's stop instance. Terminate means you want to delete the instance. So if I want to start the instance all over again, I go to instance state and start instance. So that's just by the way. So that's just by the way. Okay, so I've started my instance. So in this video, you're going to look at the bin directory, the boot directory, the CD-ROM directory, the dev directory, the etc directory, and the home directory, right? What you will notice when I log into my my instance via SSH is that in Linux, you have a more granular control over the files and folders, whereas in Windows, you have what you call the user interface, right? So in Linux, we work with the command line, and what we want to do is to take you through the major files and folders. So let me log into Actions, Connect, and I'll copy this, then I'll go open my terminal. If you're on Mac, you can use your terminal. If you're on Windows, you can use your bash or your command prompt. Right. So this is my terminal. Let me CD into, okay, let me clear this first. So let me CD into downloads, where my PEM file is, and then I can copy and paste my SSH command and log into my, to log into the instance. Fine, perfect. Right, so if we do ls /, it will show us our home directory. So you can see all of these folders and files are what we call the Linux directory system. And so we just want to explain all of these folders so you understand how Linux works. So the first one we'll look at is the bin directory. So you can see the bin directory here. So let's see let's ls bin, ls, then forward directory to tell us that we are lsing into the root directory, and then we do bin. So you can see what's in the bin directory. So everything here is called binary files. So we have binary files here. And if we do, for example, if we do which ls, you find out that ls is inside, the ls command is found inside the bin directory. So usr bin and bin are literally the same thing, right? If we do which cat, for example, cat is another command we use in Linux, which we'll explain much later. You find out that the cat command is in the bin directory. So for example, let's check out the cat. Let's check out the cat, what's inside the cat. So if I do cat, and then I copy this URL, you can see what's in the cat directory, just binary files. This looks like a very large file. This looks like a large file. Let me clear this. Right? We could also do ls as well, but we really don't need that. So let's go into the next one, ls/. So we have the bin directory, and we also have the sbin, right? The sbin is called system binaries. So this is the directory that allows system administrators to do their work. Very simple. Then the next is the boot directory. So let me do ls into boot, right? So boot directory contains everything that we need to boot our OS. So you really don't need to play around boot directory. Do not go into boot directory. Do not cd into it. Do not do anything, because it configures what allows your directory, your Linux operating system boot, right? So the next is the cd-rom directory. Where cd-rom? We don't have cd-rom here. Okay, we don't have cd-rom here. Right, that it's been duplicated, fine. So, but the CD-ROM, in case you have it in your own Linux operating system, the CD-ROM is where this compact disk attaches to the system, right? Where the CD-ROM is being accessed, right? That's the CD-ROM directory. The next is the dev directory. So let's go into the dev directory. ls dev, right? So this is where the device files live, right? So every device file you need for your system, whether it's your keyboard or your external storage or your mouse, right? This is where everything from webcam to keyboard lives, right? A device file is an interface to a device driver. So you remember earlier we talked about a device driver, right? So these are where all of the drivers for all of your devices live. So for example, if you want to add an external 16 gig storage to this particular Linux instance, you attach it here, and you'll find later in our work experience program or in the next section of this training, you'll find how to attach an external storage to an AWS instance. So the next is the etc directory, right? So this is where we find our configuration files. So configuration files for all of your softwares are going to be found here. Much later, we'll be setting up configuration files for Nginx, right? Nginx is like a web browser, a web server, or can be used as a load balancer. And before you work on your Nginx, you need to edit the configuration file. So you see .config files like we have here. You see .config.d files. All of these are configuration files, and we find them in the etc directory. Lastly, we have our home directory, right? You can see we have just one user, Ubuntu. So if I want to add you into this system and your name is Yetunde or your name is Mary, right? I create a new user and then you find Ubuntu and then you find Mary here. So this is where users keep specific files and folders. And since you can have multiple users on the same system, you access user directories here, right? So that'll be the end of this video.